Hi, okay, finally. How are you,
Hey,
Wayne?
I'm good. I'm excited. I figured this out.
Yay!
I had about
Yay, yay, yay. High five.
I had to bring in the younger generation to help me out.
Oh, of course, might as well. There's just certain things that they do that we think we know, but when they click, you're like, how how
Yeah,
did you do it? I don't know. I
that's
don't have
that's
the time
that's
for certain things.
that's their world. Hey, you
Yeah.
got? Are we recording this? I gotta send this to my mom so she can be
Yes,
proud of me.
it will be recorded. I will save it. I will share it to her. I will share it to you, and then you can, of course, share it with her, and she can see it. So, how is everything?
No, good. Healthy, no COVID in the family.
Good. Same here.
Um, so that's a blessing. And then
Good. Good.
I travel quite a bit, so
Oh, even during the whole COVID time, or
I would say, in during this time, I've been not travel as much as I normally do, but I have been
okay.
traveling. But I did my quarantining,
Yeah.
when I got here, and vice versa. So
Yep. Keeping it safe, of course. So I have a couple of people that have already started joining. I was just telling them that I was waiting on you to join, and for those that will be watching later, including your mom, I just wanted to again thank you for accepting my invite to get you featured because I've seen your page, I've seen what you offer, I've seen your organization and company, and I think it's a great opportunity to share it with my other moms and other baller mom communities, especially those. Go ahead, yeah. Those that may be looking to, put their athletes or student athletes to the next level. So a little bit about
absolutely.
myself is that I am Gifty. I'm the founder of Baller Mom Canada, and what I do is I provide information to moms, mainly those who are just starting within the sport or the competitive sports side of it. We do have a merch side, but we also have a service side as well.
Okay.
So short and simple as that. Now, with that being said, it's not all about me today. It's about you and getting to know you. So starting off, who is Wayne Dawkins?
Right. Well, it's a lot. I think I've lived many years on this planet, so I've evolved in a few different ways. So, but
Okay.
I would, right now, I usually classify myself as a husband, a wife. Oh, oops, I mean, a
It's
husband.
okay. You play a different role. It depends. That's
No,
fine.
no, 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 no. Let me try that again. A husband,
Yeah.
a father,
Yes.
a man of God, and a social entrepreneur. That
Amen.
would be
Amen.
me as an occupation.
Great. Great. And where are you located? I know you mentioned a little bit about traveling, but mainly where is your home base?
Well, Phoenix is home. Phoenix,
Okay.
Arizona is home for right now, and then um, I do a lot of work in New Mexico, and and here in Toronto, and
Okay.
in Jamaica.
Wow.
That would be the main areas that I
That's
sort
just
of
just
spend time.
those three different places, right?
Yeah. So those places.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Now, because my theme is always about sports, and you are in the field of sports. When you were growing up, did you also play sports? And if so, which sports were you an athlete with?
I was a football player first, and I come from a football family. And
Okay.
then, but I was living in Calgary, Alberta. So, that when that
At
snow
the
hit in
football town.
October, and I was up to my elbows in snow, I needed to switch. Um, so I started playing basketball a little bit later, and sort of, I'd say fell in love with it, not necessarily just for the sport, but what it just sort of it did for me in terms of helping me stay out of trouble, stay focused, and then drop football, unfortunately.
Okay.
That was
Well,
it.
it does make it hard sometimes when you have talents for certain sports. You get to a point you have to pick one over the other,
Yeah.
or you retire mid-year like Jordan, go try one and come back.
Yeah. But I mean, I did play everything. Back then you played everything. I played volleyball, badminton, so I just look at that as that was just part of being a kid. In school, I played everything. But in terms of focus,
Yeah.
football is my first love and probably still is deep in my heart. And then,
Great.
but basketball was just made a lot of sense, made better sense, I should say.
Okay, that's good. And now, so tr- transitioning from athlete into, say, coaching or leadership, how did that work for you? Like, what made you wanted to add that sort of title to yourself?
Um, well, I started getting involved in the community early. And, by my sophomore year, I was over basketball. I was like, I'm just going to play just to get my honor my scholarship, graduate, get my degree, and I'm out. Sort of lost interest in playing. And then at that time, too, I had already made up my mind I wanted to be a social worker. And
Okay.
my professor in university said, "No, Wayne, it's not for you. You're too emotional. You get too attached. Um, try
Which is a good thing.
yeah, try." She said, "Try education." So I switched to education. So I had already begun interning and getting involved in the community. I was living in Brooklyn for a short time and did my internship there, and that was my first involvement in the community.
Okay.
My first involvements in the community, and then at that time I got saved and got involved in the church, and so then I was involved in youth ministry and between teaching and being in the youth ministry, community involvement was priority. And then I
Good.
think really hit home for me when my younger brother passed away. And then I was like, you know what? I wish I would have been there for him more and be able to share with him and pass on to him some of the things that I experienced that allowed me to, you know, um, excel with basketball.
Okay. Okay. That's good. Wow. Well, my condolences again to you and your family and your brother. But again, like you said, certain things you learned from it also led you to where you are now, which is I find it very rewarding as well too, especially when you're helping within the community and you're giving back in that sense. Now, with that being said, and you mentioned a little bit earlier about traveling back and forth, your husband slash wife, father. How do you manage your time between all of the various titles and services and things that you do?
You know what? You got to have. Sometimes they say your strength is your weakness is your strength. So I have adult ADHD. So I don't think I could focus on one thing, even if
Okay.
I tried my hardest for too long.
Wow.
Um, so for me, it's just my normal to be involved in many projects. That's just the way my mind works. And then I've been blessed to finally be in a relationship and have a wife that understands that that's who I am and understand how to support that as opposed
Great.
to fight it. And then my daughter's awesome, and she's very independent, very strong, and so and my family already knows I'm crazy, so they just stay out of my way and they support me, and that's
Great.
really it. I have a lot of energy, and I have a lot of things that I like I enjoy doing and I'm passionate about doing, and in terms of being able to help people. And every community I go into, I embrace that community as my own,
Good.
and just jump in and roll up my sleeves and
And
get to
just
work.
go with it.
That's it.
Awesome.
Get to
Now, with
work.
all of that, is there any particular person or individuals that actually continue to inspire you to keep moving forward with all that you do?
Yeah, you know what? There's different categories of people. Like so. Where my faith is concerned, I got Jesus. I'm gonna read my Bible and
Amen.
and see what God's word says for me to do and make that sort of like that primary inspiration, guidance. And then I have ministers like Dr. Miles Monroe. I'd say probably that's
Hey.
probably yeah, Dr. Miles Monroe. Like honestly, like yeah, I wish that man was still here, but just
Same here.
incredible, powerful, and so, and then there's business mentors, and I've really been blessed to have some very good business mentors that helped me become an entrepreneur, and that I still to this day try to tap in or follow them and or get advice from them. And then other than that, it's just, your typical community leaders. I'm inspired by just everyday people that are doing awesome things. Some people are into sports stars and celebrities. I'm not really excited by people who have a lot of money and can make decisions from their wealth of resources. And that's not taking anything away from them.
Yeah,
That
I'm
that just
good.
that just doesn't excite me. Like it's like, okay, you got a lot of money, you got a lot of fame, you can get a lot done.
Hmm.
Me, the people that really inspire me are the ones that have very little but manage to get a lot done. You know,
Amen.
and anybody who falls in that category, you know, um, are the ones that I'm inspired by, and I'm in awe of sometimes because they persevere through some things that I would question if people with wealth would do it if they didn't have their wealth or their fame.
Exactly. I
I don't
guess
know. I just
it's okay. Don't worry. We're on the same
that's
page too.
that's
Depends.
not knocking them because I said.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Money doesn't determine your how to be humble. If you're humble from the beginning, regardless of how much you have, you carry that forward. So that's a really good way to be inspired by those who don't let the dollars or the big influence that they may have
Yeah, absolutely.
push down on them.
Yeah, because wealth and fame can make you fake humble. Because
Yeah.
it's
Would you
not
say
hard
fake humble?
fake humble because it's
I
not
like
hard.
that.
It's not hard to give from your wealth, and
Yeah.
it's not hard to use your fame to make things happen or to move. And
It's
and I
true.
gotta, sometimes I'm very careful with what I say, but that's why when I sort of watch some of the movements that are taking place, I look at people and I'm like, well, you can make a lot of noise from your
Hmm.
position of fame, but are you rolling up your sleeves in your immediate community?
And
What
doing the dirty work day to
yeah, like
day.
what is it?
Exactly.
Yeah, what's the presence? What kind of impact do you have on your immediate community?
Yes.
Or are you
Yeah,
just a big voice when the lights turn on and the cameras
exactly.
set?
Well, it's good that you led into that because that's where I was actually going to get into in terms of you being a black male, you're in sports with all that happened with WNBA and NBA and NFL and all these sports with the whole Black Lives Matter and everyone's looking at athletes like just play the game. You don't need to be here. You don't need to do this. You're being paid lots of money on it. But at the same time, there are actual real individuals that are going through these injustices or discriminations and things like that prior to what Will Smith said that just being recorded now. So from your perspective, and of course you've traveled from Mexico, Jamaica, US, and Canada, how have you been coping with all of the movement that's going on? And is this something that you just realize, oh, maybe I've actually been fighting towards this, or everybody welcome to what I've known all this time? Like what's your perspective on it, right? Because
You know
certain
what?
people are like, this is not new, but if it needs to be, we will continue push it. And some, of course, are being awakened, which is a good thing. So just from your perspective, what's your stance?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I commend anybody who's whether they woke up yesterday or a year ago or whatever, but from when you're stepping up and trying to make a difference,
Hmm.
whenever you arrived, it doesn't matter. As long as you arrived at a place where you make a difference. I mean, I think for myself, I had already made a decision that my life is not mine. I'm here to serve. So the idea of serving is for me is something that I've already subscribed that I live it, and the
Yeah.
challenges that go along with serving I've already been exposed to, because just because I wanted to do good doesn't mean that people were embracing me, doesn't mean that people were going to give me resources and open doors for me, and that was normal, but it also taught me to appreciate the ones that did, and
Okay.
that's whether they look like me or not. And so I'm very very grateful, because there's things that I've been able to do to help people that look like me, that's been facilitated by people that don't look like me. you know
Yep.
and
Yep.
And so
Yeah.
I try to keep things in perspective with, you know, and not be moved by the emotion of the time, and make sure I just stay very grounded in, you know,
Focus.
what am I here to do? You know,
Yes. And if you have the good people around you, regardless of um, color or thoughts of it, if you're both on the same focus point of being good human, being good faithful person, regardless of which faith you follow, I think with all the movement that's going on, it doesn't become me versus you type of thing. It becomes, okay, yes, we're together, we're in good position, but there are those who are discriminated or whatever. We can do something to support them, or we can learn it. So I agree with it, because I saw some info somewhere or another podcast somewhere. A woman was just saying that we all have to be careful that even though all this is going on, not everybody may jump on it right away, and some people had it already be jumped on, but they may not be voicing it. So we have to be mindful, I guess, in the circle that you've already have, like you said, has helped you pave the way. Doesn't mean everybody in there is good or bad, but just don't put too much emotion in it, and open the ears and be more woke about it. So
yeah,
I'm on the same page with you.
yeah, exactly. And it sounds like, you know, it can be, you know, sometimes when I could come across it maybe being very vague and not, you know, taking a real stance. But in a sense, I am taking a very strong stance. I've always been pro-black, but I
Good.
always understood that in order to help black people, I got to work with people that don't look like me in
Yeah.
order to help black people. You know, so it's like, you
Exactly.
know, like, well, you know what, you know, so it's not that I'm not taking a stance or I'm playing both sides, but that's the reality of the society that we live in.
That's like,
And until we as black people have more resources and more, you know, access to more things to help ourselves, you know, even though we do, but we're just not working together well enough. But until we get to that point where we are, you know, we are creating the type of infrastructure and resource pool that we can access, then guess what? We need other people in order to help
yeah,
ourselves, you know, and
I
that's,
agree. I
you can't,
agree.
you know, that saying, can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, sometimes I'm like, calm down, people. We can't throw all the white people out. Like,
Exactly. They're good ones. They are good ones. And keep them around, and
oh, so
exactly like you said.
great, honestly, great ones. And I think that's probably the most direct I've probably spoken publicly, because, like I said, I absolutely love and adore the people that are part of my life, you know,
Good.
and
Good.
they don't all look like me.
Good.
So
Same here. And feel good. If I'm good with you, we're whatever connected to us and we're good, that's how we roll. And that's it. And
absolutely.
exactly. So then we've talked about, your work. You have so many different titles. You're being inspired by various different individuals throughout your career, personal and business wise. So what is the hardest part for you being in the sports community, specifically, let's say here in Toronto or in US or all the different places that you have traveled? What have you seen to be the hardest part in terms of sports itself for youth trying to get into the KDs and the LeBrons or football level, whatever it is? Like, what do you see to be something that it's consistent? You're trying to overcome all the time, but it's still just hard to break that.
You know, I think that the reality is that youth sport is a business,
Okay.
and I think sometimes we just got to be very real about it. You know, like, if you want recreational sports, then, you know, we have the YMCA and we have different type of recreational sport outlets. But the reality is, you know, youth basketball for a lot of people, it's a business, and it's a business in the sense it needs to be run like a business.
Mm-hmm.
Needs to be, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like, you know, with quality control systems in place. You know,
Yeah.
like, you know, like, say, for, you know, in the world of skill training, and, you know, anybody and their mom can wake up and say, hey, I'm a skill trainer. There's no quality control metrics. There's no certification. Well, we created our own certification for it, which is another story. I'd love to talk to more about, you know, what we're doing on our part. But for the most part, for the longest time, there's no quality controls, and there's no financial metrics. You know, like, people can just charge whatever they whatever they want to charge, and
Yes.
and
And
so that's
naturally, Mike Scott from PCP Network agree. He's saying it's definitely a serious business. It's a great way for individuals that I guess ex-players or ex-coaches, realize that they can tap in, and whether they have the right credentials or not, they will just, go ahead and create something to say, I want to get your youth or your athlete into the next level. So as you
Yeah.
said, once a parent understands it is a business, then I guess you know what to do from that level.
And once you understand it's a business, and then you ask those questions, even
Yeah.
liability. How's my child gonna be safe in your care?
Mm-hmm.
What's your resume look like?
Yeah.
Uh, is there any systems and processes that you use to be, metrics to show progress, to show if my child is improving? Like,
Yes.
these are, like,
They're valid
how
questions.
it is,
It's
is
true.
your organization set up properly? Like, do you even have a real organization?
Yeah. Are
Like,
they recognized? Are they
are they
registered
recognized?
properly?
Are you going to be shut down next week? Or, like, if I
Yeah.
put my money into, so these are the business questions that need to be asked. And then you don't
Yep.
really have to worry about I mean, you're never safe, but there's less chance of you getting burnt if you come in understanding that this is a business. So I'm going to ask the business type questions that I would do is if I was going to go looking for a car to buy, like,
Yeah.
you're going to make sure it's reputable. You're going to make sure, like, in terms of qualified staff, and like,
Yeah.
and
You
a
can
lot
just
of,
jump in.
yeah, you just, jump in. But unfortunately, the basketball community, and it's sad because a lot of the people that are, you know doing the, like, our leaders in the basketball community, they look like us,
Yes.
and they're not learning how to be better business people, you know
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it's messy. And so, that, to answer your original question, is my issue is that we have to learn how to be better business people. We're so focused on being better basketball people, and,
Mm-hmm.
who can out two ball dribble, out crossover, out James Harden, Luca drop back, step back each other. But
Yeah.
we're not focused on, well, how can we put in better business processes, better business systems? How can we, create, uh, you know a safer environment, liability wise, for the children that are in our care?
I
And,
love the kids.
yeah, like, how can we, show people how, how we track progress, and get results
Yes.
tangibly, so they
Yes.
can see how they're getting their money's worth. Like, we
Good.
don't we don't put as much energy into that side of it as we do trying to out dunk, out shoot, out.
Find it out. Exactly. Well, and in some ways you can't blame it, because when you turn the TV on and you're watching the game, it's all the fluff. It's all the shiny, the pre-game, the post-game, the mid-game. Like, it's nice. It looks like they just got up off their bed. They're very, and they're gonna shoot or they're gonna kick a ball, whatever. Like, it just came just like that. So in some ways, as a parent who's just looking to get their kids in there, if this is all you're seeing out there, it's hard to see the groundwork of it. And also, with everything being social media, if a team posted that we're looking for tryouts and their flyer is fancy and you're there, and people are like, as we did this, and they're making their accolades and all of that. It's hard as a parent to sort of say, am I really getting my money's worth, or am I getting my time's worth from this particular organization? So, like you said, asking specific questions, understanding that it's a business, and finding out what it is that you want for your student athlete. I think those are good points to always engage. And hopefully when you ask, the organization or the owner on that end is more receptive and open to be able to give you those feedback, so that you're not second guessing yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Um, so that's actually a good leeway into understanding what is PHASE, Phase 1. What does it stand for? Why is the name chosen? And what is it all about?
Okay. Well, I mean, I've been a part of several organizations, started them many years ago. And I tell people, I was doing AAU basketball in the early 90s. And before I started grassroots with Russell co-founded that.
Russell, yeah.
Before I started that, had a couple other organizations, but I got to a point a couple years into grassroots where I was like, you know what, I want to be a part of something that's more holistic in the development of children. And so, two friends of mine who are also, educators, we sat down and came up with phase one, and, left grassroots and started phase one. And phase one is an acronym, and it means P is for potential, H is for heart.
Yes.
A used to be for academics, but we changed that to attitude because attitude we felt covered academics as well too.
Yes.
S is for skills, and then that the sum of those things equals an elite one, which is the E.
Mhm.
And an elite one is somebody who now understands that how to overcome adversity, accomplish goals, pursue and reach goals. And being an elite one is more of a journey as opposed to a destination.
Great.
That, so that it was like this whole holistic,
Yeah.
social type organization that we, were putting together. And the idea
Where are
behind it
you
was,
all based though? Because I know you said it was a partnership, but like there is some in the States, there's some here in Canada.
That's in 2002.
Okay.
That was a long time ago. We started phase one like 18 years ago after leaving.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, like I said, been doing this for a long time. And then, and when we started, we had dance programs, tutoring, workshops. We just basically said, we're going to take every talent that God blessed us with, and we're going to run some sort of youth program to engage children, and that's what we did. So Cheryl Scobie and Marsha McDonald, they were the two that started with me. And, Sherilyn's awesome, incredible woman. They're both still educators at, I'm not sure exactly where now, but they're still involved in education and working with children. And I just sort of just continue the legacy of phase
Great. Wow. So that with phase one becomes an elite one. So what is the journey of an athlete mean to you?
Well, the journey, according to us, with an elite one is like we said, you know what, when we're working with children, like the idea of becoming elite was something that we wanted to help them understand that even if you are, arrive at a place of being elite, because elite is an arrival. To become elite is arrival. But we're trying to say to them that even when you look at Tiger Woods, LeBron James, like anybody who's great, who we think is arrived at being a place elite, they actually haven't stopped. They have other goals. I always ask kids. I said, what do you think's next for LeBron James? Another ring. No, that man is trying to own buildings, own leagues. It's a journey. So I said to them that being an elite one is being on this journey of setting and reaching goals, and just setting higher goals and greater goals.
Great.
As opposed to a place of arrival, just I'm going to get there and I'm going to stop. So the journey of an elite one from an athlete perspective is getting up every day, setting goals, reaching goals, setting new goals, raising the bar, and staying on that path. And I always tell them that you are no longer an elite one when you decide to give up. That's the only time. But as long as you are actually trying to set and reach goals, then you're an elite one.
You're an elite one. It's I always say life is a journey, so it never ends as long as and there is no finish line. So just keep going. So I like that mentality.
I mean, look at Bezos. You think that man's trying to stop at 200 billion? That man's on a journey. If he can go get that trillion, he's going to get that trillion. And and some people just have that mindset. So we look at them as elite in a sense of they've arrived, but they're looking at you like, man, I'm just scratching the surface.
Starting. Yeah, I'm in the middle, and I'm going.
That is the journey of an elite one.
Great. So as a parent of student athletes, I have this dream, or my kids have dreamed that they want to be an elite one athlete, So what are some of the things that myself or any other parents should be looking for when it comes to coach? I know we touched point on it a little bit earlier when it comes to the league itself, but what should parents, moms, dads, uncles, anyone who's involved in trying to build an elite athlete look for when it comes to coaches or organizations? Like certain things that you, from your perspective, is something that would, be a ding of yes or no perspective.
Organization. If they are organized, especially in the basketball community, because you're not, like there's a lot of disorganized uh, people and organizations. So you can save yourself a lot of headaches just by looking for the ones that are organized, and
Right.
then
Right. Yep.
then I mean you can always check somebody's track record and history. I mean, like do your homework. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, we all have a bag of haters. So I mean, obviously, if you just put my name out there, I have people that love me and people that hate me. But whether you love me or hate me, there's a lot of people can't dispute that I'm a builder. I've had a lot of success with athletes. I've had a lot of success building programs, and I have a track record of it. So, I mean,
Yep.
sometimes, especially as Black people, we're very unforgiving to each other, and people want to, they'd much rather tear me down for my mistakes or the ventures that didn't work out. But
Yep.
but rarely ever do we want to give ourselves credit. But I would say to a parent, look for those successes in those organizations. Look for the things that they've done very well. And if those things are in line with what you want for your child, then
Exactly.
you got to block out the noise and just
And
get that,
focus.
yeah, get that
Yeah.
out of that, get that out of that organization, and that's it.
Exactly. Now, so say, and I don't know if you know how my questions are going. I'm trying to build a story here. So I get in, I join this particular organization, and now, my kid loves going to practice and back and forth, but every now and then, you feel like you need to get them going. What can we as parents to get them, really motivated into not just only sports, but also as a student athlete, the per se, because like you said, you joined it as a way to sort of, get out of troubles or not get into trouble. But you also want to make sure that it's not just dribbling the ball, it's not just kicking the ball, it's not just throwing the ball, but there's more to the sport and keep them motivated on a consistent basis. What's some of the things that you will recommend for, moms or dads or parents to make sure that their kids are consistent with being a student athlete?
Well, I mean, it's interesting you say that because one of the things that I do consulting, educational consulting, and one of the biggest challenges for educators and for parents is student engagement. How do you keep students engaged? Because if students are engaged, they're going to learn, and if
Yeah.
they're engaged, they're going to stay focused, they're going to stay on task, and
Yeah.
so and it's very difficult now to keep kids engaged. Their attention span is shorter than ever now. So one of the big things that we do is we always try to refocus them on their goals. So we're always working with them on reaching even small goals and celebrating those small goals. Keep them connected to their bigger goals, helping them hit milestones, and because the thing is, if we step back and just sort of leave them to their own devices, they're going to get distracted. They're
Yeah.
going to get, mental toughness is something that our children is struggling with. Really going to get discouraged. So we constantly got to be resetting them and helping them reset and refocus on their goals in order
Yeah.
to keep them
Yeah.
engaged. And
Yes.
that's something I would say that so for parents who just say, okay, I'm just going to plug them into this program and step back, or leave it in the hands of somebody else because they don't know the sport or they don't have the time, then those are the children that are going to struggle staying on course.
Yeah.
They
Because you
needed
leave
that
it at
time.
the hands of either the coach or the leader, whoever it is, and they're the one that's going to be the influence on it. And like you said, if you didn't do your homework on them, depending on how they are, they could be setting them off track or using them in a different way to build your own personal resume, which may not be beneficial to your
Yeah,
student.
absolutely. And when you think about it, is even if you don't know the sport, you know your child. So
Yes.
you know what will keep your child motivated. You know what will keep your child engaged. You know your child's goals. And if you don't, then you need to get more involved, because
Yeah.
and those things are always within your control as a parent. And then as you grow and understand the basketball industry, you can provide them with even greater support, and and find more people within a network of the network to support them. But at the very least, you can provide that type of encouragement and focus, at home. At the
Yeah,
very
I
least.
agree. I agree. Now, we're here in Canada, and most of the athletes initially, I bet when you first started, in AAU, there were very few, or if any, very little light within the Canadian sports, especially basketball. Now with Jamal Murray and Olenek and Heat, all of it, all of these guys are starting to get Canada the attention, the RJ Barretts and all of that, saying, oh, wow, Canada has good talent. But a lot of parents are thinking, okay, what, I'm going to put you in an AAU league and you're going to also be good and you can get to that level. I'm sure it's not that as simple as just getting to that level. And most people don't always share their background stories in terms of the day in and day out of, back and forth, as you can probably talk about the early grassroots of how, hustling to try to even get scouts from US to come here and look at any players here or even traveling back there. So my question is, what is your opinion when it comes to the talent here in Canada compared to, let's say, US or Mexico, from the places that you've traveled? Because, you're well versed, I would say, internationally when it comes to the sports. And how do you compare Canadian talent to others?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's been, shout out to Shondell. Big up Shondell. My, my boy Shondell's on there.
Hi, Chanel.
Hey,
Thanks for tuning in.
thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've been around long enough, but you don't have to be around long enough to know that we've always had high level NBA caliber talent. Like guys like Wayne Yearwood and Philip Dixon and all these guys from that era, and even the era before that, when you hear people talk about Joe Alexander and David Joseph and Simeon Moore. Like these guys were comparable to any top Canadian talent that we have now in terms of what they're doing. Like,
Yeah.
and that we've always had it. And there's nothing new. I mean, guys like Wayne Yearwood were killing guys in America. And
Yep.
then the next generation, I mean, after that, Rowan Barrett, Keith Vassell, myself, those are guys that are from my era. And you know what, we're putting work on Americans too. And then, then the era after that, and like even Denham Brown, when we used to travel, Denham Brown he used to shut down gyms. He was killing guys. Like you're talking about, Jim Calhoun took a private jet to Canada to Jungle to come watch him play in Jungle.
Yes, Lawrence Heights.
Like in the Lawrence Heights. So
Yeah.
like we were making, like, Canadian talent has been making a splash for a long time. But
Yeah.
I think there's a difference though when where I credit this generation is because once we finally started, went from knocking doors to kicking them open, the generation of guys who, with Corey, Tristan, and Andrew Nicholson and those guys, when they got through, they did work. They did
Yes.
what they needed to do.
Yeah.
So so I look at it like I don't take anything away from this generation. They're super talented, just like, the generations before. But the generations before are the ones that knocked the door and then kicked it open.
Way.
And then they went in and they took care of their business. So
Yes.
I give them much respect for that. And I think it's unfortunate they don't or may not
They don't
understand.
get the shine, as we say, or the
No,
accolades or
and,
mention.
and no, and it's unfortunate, and that's why last year, I did that awards gala and did, and started my own Hall of Fame because I said, yeah, because I think as Black people, we're always waiting for somebody to let us in, and I'm like, if you look at Canada Basketball's Hall of Fame, you get what, 2 Black people in 50 years.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure they're going to pile a bunch of NBA players in there because it suits their purpose. But
Yeah.
for 50 years, we
Yeah.
had two,
There's
two
European players, there's Team Canada players.
we
They've
got two
gone to
black
the Olympics, they've gone to FIBA, like
we got
both
two
male
black people
and
in Canada.
female.
So I said,
Yeah.
man, forget that. We need to start our own Hall of Fame. And we're not waiting for people to invite us in. And that's why this younger generation doesn't know the extent of the talent. And not even this generation. Like this, this generation of Canadian basketball people that are all excited. They don't understand.
The Raptors bandwagon is just
Yeah,
jumping on, thinking that
they have
because
no clue.
Raptors won, all of us are the same.
Yeah,
It's
because
true.
they were sold the narrative that basketball started with the Raptors and Vince, and in Canada, that's the ice melted and Vince came out and and just came out, and and then also basketball was born in Canada, and that's like, hey, like I said, I'm careful what I say because I'm not knocking anything. I'm just saying that,
You're being real, and it's
yeah, I'm just
okay.
being very real. When you live long enough to see it,
Yeah,
that you're like, man, you're not fooling me. Like, you can fool them, and you can fool the younger ones or some of the other ones that are new to the bandwagon. But
yeah,
I was there. I was in them gyms when gyms was getting shut down, and man was jumping over people's heads and doing some crazy stuff. And
yeah.
Rivers, and we were putting work on Riverside Church. Dixon's dropping 55 on Riverside Church.
Wow,
We were putting work on Americans. You know,
wow.
from back in the day. Like,
Yep.
it's not new.
No, no.
It's just we're just finally getting credit for it now.
It's getting, yes, and I can see it becoming, I guess, more scouts or more opportunities coming here for our athletes here, because a lot of them also getting that scholarship to be able to travel and going there to reputable schools and not just getting duped per se in terms of coming and get a scholarship. And meanwhile, the school is not fully accredited with, say, the NBA or NFL or anything like that. So, to your point, I think it's good that the original hustlers from the early onset really paved the way. But you're right, we do have to pave a
Hey,
way
Mel.
for it. But you did mention that you do have an award or Hall of Fame that you created. So we'll touch base offline and I can share that just so that people can be more knowledgeable about it. So it's not just a hearsay or, you say right now it's only those in the limelight, but there are people that always pave the way for those who are here now to get to where they are, like yourself. So that would be good to share as well, too.
Absolutely. It's called the Journey Awards, and I've
Any
been
awards.
I've been doing awards galas for a while, but we just added the Hall of Fame. But the Mr. Basketball, Miss Basketball, Player of the Year, phase one, we've been doing that for a long time, even before that, way back, So,
Great.
and I just want to say that that's an example of what I'm talking about in the Black community. When you really think about it, how many organizations celebrate outside of themselves in the basketball community? Everybody gives their own MVPs and awards, but how many people give outside
Yes.
of themselves? And I can tell you that as phase one, I mean, Roy Rana, put a whooping on us 60, gave us a 60 piece in the playoffs, and I was standing on a stage giving him Coach of the Year, and and his team of the Year. As much as I'm at odds with with different people, I've had them on stage giving them all kinds of awards, or offering to give them awards,
Good.
even when they're boycotting me, I'm still trying to give them awards. Because,
Oh,
yeah, because a lot of them, they think it's about basketball for me. I could really
yeah.
care less. I don't even watch basketball. I seriously don't even watch
Yeah,
basketball.
I remember I heard you in one of your podcasts or interviews before. I was like, "What? He's a coach and you don't watch?
I
Okay."
don't watch. I'm the biggest fraud. I get people if I'm going on a podcast. Or I'll tell you the truth. I'm going on a podcast for basketball. I call some people who know basketball and I take notes.
Oh, so
And
you study yourself prior to. Okay, that's fine.
I just
Nothing
do
wrong
my
with being a
homework.
student.
But I had a social cause that I wanted to bring. I needed a platform to bring forth. And I hate to expose myself like this, but I'm just trying to make a point that for me, it's never been about basketball on an ego level.
Good.
Basketball is just a vehicle to be able to make an impact, make a difference.
Yeah,
That's it. And then now it's because it's a business for me. Basketball is a way of making money and make a living.
it's a business. Yes,
That's it.
and
That's it.
as Mel Six says, "Yep, well said. Keep doing and do be biased. That is why." You are blessed and definitely highly favored.
I,
So
I
we're
love Mel.
on point with you.
I love Mel and her whole family. She's
Good, good,
incredible. A big supporter of myself and phase one over the years. So,
great.
you have those diehard volunteers over the years. They're
Yes,
they're always there. Yeah, so that's Mel and her family. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nell.
Thank you, Mel.
Um, so that because you're in that stage where you're teaching student athletes to be the elite on a continuous basis, how early is it? Should parents actually start to have their kids, specialize to say, this is a sports career that I want? Because right now, to register for, let's say, basketball, you can start from 5 years old, the community rec center. Soccer, 5, 6, you do house leagues and all of that. By the time they get to grade 6, grade 7, like, oh, this is what I want. Where does the guide or the gauge come in and say, okay, you know what, as a kid, as a parent, I don't know if it's too early for you to really focus on it, or you should be the other way. Like, how early is it to really streamline and say, yes, this is where this is what we want you to do, as opposed to wait and see and still do it for fun and understanding it's a business.
Yeah, I think when kids are really young, you know, it's still about having fun, and but at the same time you want to introduce them to different sports.
Yes.
Like I'm not a big fan of specializing at all, at a really young age, 5, 6, 7 years old, and they're already on their way to the NBA. They don't do anything else, put them in soccer so they can develop good footwork. Put them in
Yeah.
track so they can learn how to to run and develop speed. Just make them a well-rounded athlete and help them enjoy sport. And
Yeah.
then because when you specialize, it becomes just too heavily focused on one discipline.
Yeah. And you're not even paying tax on it yet.
No. And that could be stressful for a child. They don't
Yeah.
understand. That could be very
Yeah.
stressful. And
Yeah.
then, like, so, break it up a bit. Like I know kids love, they can play basketball all day or play a particular sport all day, but that's, as a parent, you lead, they follow,
Yeah.
you
They
know.
follow. For
Um,
sure. For
then
sure.
and I would also too use that opportunity to identify their gifts that make them special, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And then now, as you identify their gifts through these other sports, and now you might want to sort of steer them towards something that may be better suited for them for the long term.
Oh, long term,
Long
exactly.
term.
Like you said, it's a journey to be an
Yeah,
athlete,
it's a
not
journey.
just a one-stop thing.
And there's a gifted athlete in every child.
Yes.
So take that time to have fun and discover, what is that gift? What makes my child special,
Yeah,
as an athlete. And I'm telling you, there's no bigger confidence boost than learning that there's something about you that makes you very special.
exactly.
Yeah.
Even as adults, we all discover something new about ourselves every now and then, and we go with it, right? So it's good when you realize it with your kids and you sort of gauge them through the right way. And I think sometimes having this ball and mom thing, you do get questioned as to, my kid just want to do this. Is there anything else? And I'd be like, well, there's other things. This particular organization doesn't just only kick ball. They do other things. They have after school program. They have, mentoring that goes on with it. There's another program, Hannah, that I had featured last month where she does writing skills, all related with sports. So you're still in the sports field, but you're still learning other ways to put that knowledge into it, so you're not just a one-way streamline. All I want to do is be a guard. All I want to do is just be a point guard or whatever titles that they give themselves, right?
Well, it's interesting because my wife is watching this, and we've been working with children with autism for the last 5 years. And one of the things I learned from working with children with on the spectrum, and we work with verbal, nonverbal children on the spectrum, and they typically get left out of team sports. And
Yes.
they get left out of team sports to the point where nobody has conversations with them about the local sports teams and what's local happening. So
Mm-hmm.
when we work with them, even the ones that can't barely kick a basketball or throw a football, we take the time and we introduce them to the local sports so they can feel like a part of the sport
The
culture.
community. Yes.
So
Yes.
now they can later on in life or with build friendships based on being able to identify an athlete
Yeah.
that's native to their community or at their local team.
Yes.
And so sport is such an important social development,
Hmm.
tool for our kids that, not taking the time to give them, like you said, that other side of sport, you
Hmm.
know, is a lost opportunity to help develop their social skills and help them be able to get out there and build friendships and build relationships.
I agree. Now, from your side of it, from your business, your businessman, your sportsman, your husband, wife, I'm going to keep saying that.
Yeah, you call me a husband, wife. I'm never gonna live down that mistake. I know.
Is there anything specific that you need from my parent community, especially when it comes to phase one, that you want me to take with me so I can share with them and have them connect with you? Is there anything that you're needing or something that you would like to share so that they can go to your page, follow it, and connect with you and take on the next steps?
You know what? I like to believe that my approach to the development of athletes, testing and assessment, as opposed to just throwing drills at kids, but really using testing and assessment to evaluate where a child is at. And I think a
Okay.
lot of times, and parents, we just want to know, like, is my kid have a chance at this thing or not?
Yeah.
There's something about, is my child on track compared to his peers? And
Okay.
so that's been a big part of what we're doing. And I'm going to share more about that with you later. But
Great.
we've been developing a database of tests, like not just your typical broad jump vertical test, but hand quickness, ball quickness, things that parents can use to be able to compare themselves across the board with other children that age and gauge.
Great. Wow,
So
that would be good. That would be
yeah,
awesome
and so
because this is something you can
we have
do at home as well
yeah,
too,
things that
right?
you can have home and do at home, and creating benchmarks for different exercises and drills, so kids can know it, like, and
Yep.
how far am I off of the standards that or how far am I away from the benchmark set by my peers, or create their own benchmarks for and goals for where they should be with drills and exercises. I think it's
Their own journey.
yeah,
Yeah.
so they can so they're truly competing against themselves,
Great.
and
Okay,
not
so we're winding down, and I know
absolutely.
we talked business and everything, but I always like to close out with a little bit more of just,
Prayer.
yeah, actually, we should start with a prayer too, regardless of what faith you're
I got
in. It's always
I
good
got
to start off with good
I got you
prayer.
next. I got you next time on that
No problem.
one.
Um, just random question. Um, what is your favorite song, book, or a movie right now?
Ooh,
Just so that people can say, okay, Wayne, yeah, he likes the song. Okay, we can jive together. I'm gonna connect with him. We're
yeah.
gonna talk about this.
You know what? It's crazy, and everyone's gonna make fun of me because I
You're old
really
school.
I don't really listen to music. I just probably I don't really listen to music. I have Kirk Franklin. Something about the name of Jesus. Um, Dang, I probably even said that wrong. But Kirk Franklin is sort of like my go-to, like when I'm trying to calm my spirits.
Okay.
And then I'm a old school dance hall reggae guy, and
Ah,
everybody knows about me. I'm like, that's it. People make fun of me because every time you open my YouTube, you're gonna see a old school mix, dance hall mix, that I was just playing, and that's more just sometimes again to calm my brain. But I spend a lot of my time thinking, planning, writing, reading. I'm not
good.
really a music guy. And then where movies are concerned, I'm an action guy. It's got to be very light, or I won't. I'm not into things that are heavy drama. So I
No.
don't even have a specific movie. I just know that if it's Jason Statham or
Ah, oh,
if somebody's
yeah,
gonna beat up somebody and crash some cars, then
yeah.
then I'll watch it.
Fast and Furious.
Yeah, like that's. But again, I'm not really somebody who puts a lot. I just don't spend a lot of time on entertainment.
Yeah, you're busy. You're busy.
Yeah, and just intentionally. That's just for me. I'm trying to leave a legacy, and not just for
Right.
me, but I'm trying to be a mentor and pass things on. And I don't really have much time.
Yeah.
You know, my wife obviously pulls me into some things, but she knows that, you know,
Great.
I can only handle so much.
That's fine. And when she says go, you go. Trust me.
Yeah.
You don't have the option.
Yeah, so sorry, you probably didn't learn much about me by that, but or probably maybe you did. You learned a lot about me by that, but
Yes, we did. Yes, we
yeah,
did. Yes, we
yeah.
did. And then, okay, so you like action movie. Let's say there was a movie to be made about you with 30 plus years of experience. Who would be starring Wayne Dawkins?
Well, you know, I got all my all the bald headed black men with beards
Yeah,
that are famous, you know, can audition. But
you know,
I was you know, for me, I'm a big Denzel guy.
okay,
So, which seems kind of cliche, like you know, it's like
that's fine.
everybody wants Denzel to play them, but
Yep,
you know, I think Denzel as a man, off away from the screen is what I admire. You know, he's
good.
a beautiful black woman that he's been loyal to for many years. He's raised some great children. He's inspirational. You know,
Yep.
I think it's just I think just who he is as a person is somebody that I just really admire. And, you know, so it's not just he's a great on-screen actor, but I
It
think
could happen. Hey, once you're okay, keep going, it could happen.
yeah,
Denzel.
that man is timeless too. You know he's still gonna look younger than me 10 years from now. So that's fine.
Okay.
So
And you know what? With the hair, they can put anything on there to make it beautiful. So they'll do put hair on it when you were younger when you had hair. So that's not an issue. Anything is possible. Oh
yeah.
wow. Well, thank you. So we're winding down because Instagram
Hey,
only gives
wait,
us like what,
somebody,
1 hour.
somebody said Terry Crews.
Terry Crews.
Terry Crews.
Oh, Adrian's too. I see that. Okay, that's not bad. Well, you're gonna
Yeah,
have a lot of different
no,
people going on for
not
sure.
Terry Crews. Never. Sorry, but sorry. Go ahead.